The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Not even the wizardry of Fred the Litnikoff, you passed his name there. Men like Eyeshide and Beulah, you son of a bitch.
Because we are incompetent! The absolute worst!
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And check out every episode of the show at basicallysports.tumblr.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg, Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
I haven't actually looked at our newspaper today. The large photo on the front of the sports section is Phillip Rivers on his knees.
Greg, you were passing around a story about how the NFL is at least considering sending them back to San Diego.
That was kind of debunked. That was put out there by some reporter that had talked to somebody in the NFL, and they're like, oh, well, they think it looks bad. Immediately after that, all the people that are actually on the Chargers beat did some research. We're not moving back.
Not yet. I don't know how long the NFL is going to put up with this. I know what people are saying, and I know what the official word is, but you're pulling 20,000 a game at a soccer stadium.
How was the attendance against Kansas City? I did not catch yesterday's game.
Oh, it was a Chiefs crowd, mostly.
Yeah, it was the same as it's been.
Okay.
Not completely sold out and mostly red.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It just looks really, really bad for the NFL, and something's got to be done. I hate that we have to keep talking about this, but my God, it's just been such a disaster that you can't get around it.
The announced attendance was 25,386.
Jeez.
And the capacity is 27.
Yeah. Hey, it was a very interesting weekend in the NFL. Very interesting. A lot of crazy stuff going on.
It was something.
Yeah. And we actually had some competitive, good football games. I was listening to, I think it was Dan Patrick today. They dodged a lot of bullets with this whole National Anthem thing. Because you had the Aaron Hernandez CTE thing coming out and all these other stories that kind of got shoved to the side because the president did what he does, and here we are.
Opened his mouth and made a situation that was going away suddenly a huge deal.
Pretty much.
I don't know where you guys want to start with all that. There's no way that we can't talk about it.
It was insane. I think for the first time that, as far as I can remember, they showed the national anthem of every single game, right? It became a thing.
I don't know, man. The whole thing is just such a... I can't say that I disagree with the players. The issues they're trying to raise, I think, are legitimate issues.
Yeah. Although I think the reason that they were kneeling this Sunday was different than the reason they were kneeling the other Sunday previous.
It's just become this big out-of-control thing that...
It wasn't out of control. It was like...
It became this out-of-control thing. It wasn't... before Saturday, it was really just this thing, well, who stands and who doesn't every week. You kind of just kept a little scorecard to see if more people did or more people didn't. It's way bigger than it was last week. That's for sure.
Now the question, too, going forward from it is, what is it going to look like in every week after this? Is it going to look like... Is it going to look like that the week after that? Are these players actually going to be doing something? When they first started doing this, it was for a specific cause, and now it's just kind of rallying together to further...
Maybe I misread the situation, but to me it seems before Saturday, it was kind of a dying issue where maybe now and then you'd have a player here or there who would kneel, but it wasn't as big a deal as it was back when Kaepernick started doing it last season. And then all of a sudden, Trump opens his mouth. It went from Kaepernick and other people specifically protesting the whole racial injustice in America's police forces to becoming an issue about, well, the president of the United States is telling us we can't do this, and now we're going to stand in solidarity with everyone who was doing it. And it has blown up. The thing that I can't get over is that yesterday would have came and went as a week in the NFL without much fanfare.
I'm just going to jump in really quick here, Mike. The entire Dallas Cowboys team just kneeled. Every single one of them to a man.
Even after Jerry Jones said that they would all be fired.
Well, Jerry Jones is kneeling there right there in the middle with them.
Oh, right. Shit.
The Cardinals are down there with their owner as well.
As much of a spectacle as this has become, as far as I see it, this is pretty straightforward and simple. There was an issue, the whole racial profiling and racial bias in police forces. There was an issue out there that some players felt that they had a moral obligation to protest against. Then the President of the United States came out and said that they shouldn't. And I'm sorry, but
he didn't just say that they shouldn't. He said that they're sons of bitches and they should be fired. Get that son of a bitch off the field and he's fired.
It was increasing by the week, but it wasn't the news story that it is now. The president made this, he put it at an entirely new level when he came out and said what he said.
And I suppose it gets to the point where after what happened in Charlottesville, to be perfectly frank, Donald Trump doesn't really get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to issues dealing with race.
Well, where was all of his anger when Charlottesville was going on? Where was it then?
Nazis are fine people on both sides. NFL players for kneeling, doing a peaceful protest in the fucking Bill of Rights. They're sons of bitches. This all spiraled out, of course, when he rescinded the invitation of the Golden State Warriors, who had already said, we're not going. So this was the equivalent of, well, I quit. Well, you can't quit because you're fired.
What the fuck planet are we even on? I'm sorry. I don't want to sound like I'm this completely politically intolerant. I've got friends who say that, yeah, I voted for Trump. I don't hold it against them. You can have your political beliefs. That's fine. But the president of the United States, even outside of this whole anthem thing, if you just look at this whole Steph Curry Golden State Warriors thing, the man is acting like a child.
Yeah.
Act like the president of the United States. That's all anybody's asking.
Right. Somebody said that, we honor the office of the president, but Donald Trump makes it harder and harder every single day. Even do that simple thing of, well, my candidate lost, so now I have to support the president and all he's doing. He was the guy I voted for, and I can't even support the dude anymore. It's just actually anymore is probably the wrong qualifier. It happened a lot faster than this weekend, but.
That's what I mean. No one's saying he has to agree with this or back it or make some sort of great Aaron Sorkin-esque speech about it. Just act like the damn president. That's all we're asking.
It's one thing for him to have been doing what he's done so far, but sports has always been kind of our distraction away from this stuff. If there's one thing that sports has always done, it's bring people together. And I think this is something that he intended it to be sort of divisive and have people turn against the NFL. But if anything, it brought the players together and a lot of fans together, and some of them turned it off. But now, even more so than ever, it's like, will you just shut up? Just go away. You're interfering with my entertainment activities.
He loves to show people the electoral map. He loves to talk about it. So you know what? Now that you've done it, act like the president. Quit acting like a fucking child.
It's not in himself to do it. It's not going to end. That's how this is going to go. For a lot of people, there's been an argument of whenever sports people get involved in politics, we'll stick to sports. Unfortunately, Donald Trump has now put politics into sports. You turn on any sports show today, ours right now.
There's no way we could talk about the NFL this week and not discuss this.
We certainly could have. We could have, but we would have looked stupid.
If we had just sat here and oh yeah, well, the Lions and the Cardinals, and just didn't bring it up, we'd be doing a disservice to the people because it makes us look like we're idiots.
I don't think any of us on Friday night looked at today's show going, boy, this is really what we want to talk about. No one wanted to do this, but when the president of the United States steps into things, and I think that's one thing he doesn't understand about that office. He's an instant starting gun. When he says something, it's like the whole world hears it, dude.
Or he knows that explicitly. Because here's the other thing. There was stuff that happened with North Korea over the weekend. Yeah. But he's talking about it because Trump said this. It's a very good distraction to people not talk about what's actually going on.
I don't even think it's him doing much of a distraction. This whole narrative that certain people have gone with since the election that, Trump is this Emperor Palpatine-esque chess master it's sort of fallen by the way. Like, the man has the temperament of a spoiled child.
Yep.
He has a very large but very fragile ego. To me, it seems like he acts almost to appease his most immediate gratifications. I don't think he said what he said on Saturday in an attempt to distract people from what's happening with North Korea or to distract people from the fact that even though his party controls both houses of Congress, he still can't pass a freaking healthcare reform bill. I honestly think he just thought, I'm at a rally with my supporters. Yep. I know my supporters are, super patriotic. I bet if I say this one thing, it'll get them to give me a big applause.
They'll love me.
They'll love me.
Yeah.
And I think that's all it was. And I don't think the fact that it would blow up into this huge thing ever occurred to him, because I don't think he even thought beyond a half an hour from the point he said.
No, I don't think he makes these distractions up because he's a great political strategist. I think he's just so fast and furious you can't keep up. The worst thing in the world was giving that man a Twitter account. I don't know whose idea that was once he became president, but that should have been the first thing they took away from him.
It should have been. What they should have done is taken away his personal account and make sure all of it gets vetted through the POTUS account. But it doesn't. So, it's probably not even like somebody is getting overruled and they can't do their own job. It's simply that he won't let that happen.
No.
Because he's got his own iPhone or Samsung or whatever the hell he has. He's got his own phone. He wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning and goes on a Twitter diatribe, and there's nobody who can stop him from doing it.
Yeah, it's like the dude gets on Ambien-induced binges at 3 o'clock in the morning on Twitter.
Look, I'm not saying anything about one way or another on healthcare reform. This isn't the show for that. I'm not going to start a thing. All I'm saying is that from a purely Schadenfreude perspective, when the last attempt to repeal Obamacare failed, I was so excited for only one reason, and that was because I was looking forward to the Twitter meltdown that would happen at 3 o'clock the next morning.
Yeah. It's not just you. At the Emmys last weekend, during the show, they made, of course, plenty of jokes, especially with Stephen Colbert as the host. And one of the things he said, he's like, President Trump, I look forward to your Twitter diatribe in the morning. And what, of course, did we get the next morning from him? A Twitter diatribe about the fucking Emmys.
Yeah.
People are playing him into it now. They know
it's so easy. It's so easy.
It really is. The whole thing is a sideshow, and to say that about the President of the United States is absolutely ridiculous. It's just so mind-boggling.
I dare say we've got a solid maybe 30% chance that if someone tweets to Donald Trump with a link to this show, he will mention us in a Twitter diatribe.
Do you think it's only 30%? I'm going to say 50-50.
Well,
basically, a sports show, low ratings, sad.
Right. I'm going to say a 50-50 shot, and you know what? I'm willing to be the guy to try it.
Failed podcast. Sad.
Getting back to the original topic, so I don't know how much further you guys want to go with this. Where do we stand on it?
I personally have always been I stand hand over the heart, take off your hat. If I was in that situation, if I was an NFL player, I don't know if I would do it. I support everyone else's right to do it. Right. And I really don't have a problem with them doing it. I understand why they're doing it. But for me personally, I put a lot into respecting the flag and honoring the country and patriotism and all that sort of stuff. And I would stand and hand over the heart, all that sort of stuff. That's
exactly where I'm at. I would support my teammates if they felt strongly enough to do this. I'm not going to do it alongside you, but I will stand alongside you while you do it.
Mike, would you stand or kneel or just?
I've always felt there was something apolitical and something. It was one of the few things that everyone, regardless of political affiliation, could agree on was to, when you play the national anthem, you stand, you put your hand over your heart, and even though I'm not an American, whenever the American national anthem has been played at games that I've gone to, I always do it as a sign of respect. So I would say that my first instinct would be to stand for the national anthem, but I guess my bigger point is that the United States of America, Canada for that matter, and it's sort of founded on this principle of you not only have the right to protest the actions of, your government or your country, but that doing so is in fact one of the highest forms of patriotism. So while I personally would probably stand, I think that every player who has opted to kneel or, stay in the locker room or hold hands in, defiant solidarity or lock arms or whatever the case may be, they are not only completely within their rights, but I don't see them as disrespecting the country at all. If anything, they're upholding one of America's great founding principles. You have a responsibility and a duty to protest what you feel is a shortcoming.
It's easy to be a patriot when everybody agrees. It's a lot tougher when a guy standing next to you that you respect and you may disagree with, but like you're just talking about, Mike, you respect what he's doing and the protests and all that. That's where it's tough, and that's where some people get lost. And I'm just saying that if you really want to go the whole route, with the American flag and all that, you got to respect every last bit of it. And part of respecting it is respecting the people that decide to protest.
I don't have the quote right in front of me, so I'm just going to paraphrase it. And my apologies if I missed something in terms of accuracy. But I think Teddy Roosevelt actually said it best in terms, and he was referring specifically to the presidency, but I think you can extrapolate it to, the flag or the government or the country as a whole. Basically, that blind loyalty to the office of the presidency is not only unpatriotic, it is one of the greatest crimes an American can commit against his country. Of course, you have respect for the flag, for the government, for the country as a whole, but part of the civic makeup of the United States and many other countries for that matter is founded on the principle that as an informed, engaged citizen, you have the right to question and you have the right to protest.
Yeah, the responsibility, I think, to question. Maybe not to protest, but you have the responsibility to keep an eye on things as a citizen.
And compare what we can do here in the United States and what has been done to the North Koreans. If there was a National Football League of North Korea...
Oh, God, that would be sad.
There wouldn't be any more.
That all played in one stadium, all for the glory of the great leader.
The Kim Jong-uns versus the Kim Jong-uns.
Right. None of this would be allowed to happen. They'd be executed on the spot. The fact that they can do this at all, and the only repercussion is, hey, we don't like that. Well, that's the beauty of America. You're allowed to do things that other people don't like, and you're allowed to tell that person that you don't like that. There are repercussions in some places, and it's such a unique thing because some people are trying to bring this up like, well, if you had to do it in your workplace, if we lived in a world where we had to do the national anthem every day before you went to work, it would also be kind of like North Korea.
On top of that, as far as I know, almost every single owner in the NFL, including, the league office itself, has said that they are perfectly okay with these protests. So to all these people saying, oh, you shouldn't do this at your place of work, for all intents and purposes, the employers of these players have given them the green light. So they're engaging in their constitutional right to protest, and their employers have said it's okay by us. So I don't see the problem.
Not only that, can we stop pretending that the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys is the same employee as the guy that's greeting you at Walmart? I mean, can we stop with that? That it's just it's a false equivalency. We all know it. A National Football League player, yes, he's an employee technically of the Dallas Cowboys. I get all that. But let's quit pretending that he's the same as the Walmart greeter, because he's not. It's a different thing, and we all know it.
The other thing to take note with when it comes to kneeling for the anthem and all that sort of stuff, it was not required for the players to be on the field for the national anthem in the NFL until 2009.
My girlfriend told me that today. I had no idea.
And do you know why that is? Because the Department of Defense and the National Guard
doing those paid bits,
paying the NFL. When that story came out, we initially thought of it as, when they do the honor a veteran during the game or that sort of stuff. Apparently, it also led to the NFL players being on the field for the national anthem. This has only been required of teams for 8 years.
If you guys don't mind, we'll wrap it up. I just want to finish by saying, if you're so fuck all stupid that you're going to quit watching the NFL, you're going to deprive yourself of something you enjoy over this, and you know what? Good riddance. So let the door hit you in the ass on the way out.
And for God's sake, of all the dumb shit the NFL's done over the past 10 years, this is going to be the thing.
Yeah, this is going to be the thing that you leave over. Shall we just talk regular football now and not?
Well,
let's talk about some regular football.
Against all odds, football did in fact manage to be played. So,
well, here, I want to go back in time for a second, guys.
Okay.
Let's go back to a time before there was all this controversy, before Donald Trump ever said anything.
So Friday,
on a pleasant Thursday evening,
right? Yeah,
Bay Area, where we had hands down the best Thursday Night Football game in Thursday Night Football history.
I don't know if I'd go that far, because there were some good ones back in the old days when they just played them once in a great while. But under this new format, absolutely, without question. Without
a doubt, it was the highest scoring game. And, I didn't get a chance to watch this when it was happening. I was getting all these updates on my phone, and I was like, oh, man, the Rams offense, we're back. Last year we went to San Francisco and got shut out 28-0. It was an embarrassment, and I hated it. I think it was the first game of the season, too, and I was like, oh, no. Is this really what it's going to be?
And it was.
But they started scoring points, and it was like great, and they started to run away. 49ers came back a little late, though, but the Rams hold on for a 41-39 victory. Todd Gurley, his first 100-yard rushing game in, I think, like 23 games.
Well, what are our Los Angeles Rams are now 2-1, right?
Our Los Angeles Rams are now 2-1. They're 1-0 on the road.
Yeah.
So yeah, they are currently, well, the Seahawks lost. So the Rams are in first place, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, so now, okay, so this is what I wanted to bring up.
I called the Rams to make the playoffs. I'm just saying. I'm just putting that out there.
And that's, okay, we've had Overreaction Monday, Overcorrection Monday for week 2. Mm-hmm. This week I'm calling, are we bailing or are we staying? And that's for teams like, we've had 3 weeks now. So like with the Rams, I think, Zach, you and I were kind of like, if a couple things go the right way, they could be okay. Mike picked them to win the division. Are we convinced? Are we staying there with the Rams or are we bailing?
Oh, I'm staying with the Rams. Even in the game they lost, that was a game that a year ago they would have lost by like 15, 20, and they ended up losing by 7. It just, the offense is so much better.
Oh my God, is it? I mean, well, again, Jeff Fisher. Yeah. No, the difference between Jeff Fisher and Sean McVay coming over from the Redskins, calling the plays, he's done a great job of making an offense around the talent that he has. Right.
Oh, look, the team isn't a middling sack of crap when you get rid of the perpetual 8-8 Jeff Fisher.
Not only that, but he coaches the game the right way because, like you just said, Zach, you coach to the personnel you have. You do not try to make the personnel you have fit your system. And that's what Jeff Fisher's biggest mistake was.
He's brought a nice up-tempo, creative offense that's really working for the Rams, as you can see for 3 games. The only concern that I have is the 39 points you allowed to the 49ers. And
that happens. That's a Thursday night.
Well, week 1, the defense looks so great in demolishing a Colts team that we've seen is not all that good. Then you have the Redskins game where they're better, but they struggle a little bit. They can't get the Redskins up the field in long downs. They struggle defending the run. And now you go into the 49ers game and Brian Hoyer throws 2 touchdowns, 332 yards.
But Brian Hoyer, he's done that before, so that's not that much of an aberration. And I always anything defensively, I throw out the window on a Thursday night because they just don't have enough time to prepare. It's as simple as that.
And too, the Rams were scoring a lot of points, so the defense was on the field maybe more than they would have been if they were scoring less. And really they were good until the fourth quarter when the dam sort of started leaking a little bit, but they held on. So that's all that counts is they held on for the win. They're 2-1. I feel so much better about this group than I did a year ago that I really have no complaints, and there's no way I'm bailing on them now.
Mike, I'm assuming you're staying too because you picked them to win the division.
I'm sticking with them. To be honest, I picked them to win the division more out of a lack of confidence in anyone else than a amount of confidence in the Rams particularly. But, I think Zach hit the nail on the head. This might not be the year where they turn into world beaters, but it reminds me a lot of what I've seen out of the Maple Leafs in the past 2 years as a hockey fan, where it's like, they're not going to win the Stanley Cup this year, but damn it, after a miserable season, this is a pleasant step in the right direction. So
I think we'll learn a lot more about them in the next 2 weeks, especially. Next Sunday, they're at the Cowboys. And then the week after, they're home to the Seahawks.
Well, not to jump ahead, but the Cowboys really haven't been impressed. If I'm bailing on anyone, it's probably Dallas.
I don't know if I'm bailing on Dallas quite yet. They still got the game that they're going on right now, but the Seahawks are they might be a bailable team too.
Let's roll. Okay, so let's move on. Let's just do the scores here because I think we had an opinion on every team. So
yeah,
we'll go from Thursday to
the 49ers have been bailed on officially too, right?
We were never on them, so it's kind of like
again, jumping ahead, but I think the 49ers are our best hope now for an 0-16 season, and I don't think it's unreasonable to expect it to happen.
I guess we got to throw in a provision here too. Okay, you got, are we bailing on? Are we staying on? And then are we jumping on? Because there's a team that we might have not liked that we're going to jump on the bandwagon now. So,
well, let's start out on Sunday morning with our first London game of the season. Which, by the way, I didn't bring this up in the Anthem thing because when they play at the London games, they also play God Save the Queen. Did they kneel for God Save the Queen, or were they just kneeling for?
I don't know. But this was the greatest Ray Lewis flip flop of all time, though. He was so against this a week ago, and then there he was, right there in the middle of all the players, being Ray Lewis on the ground kneeling with everybody.
Well,
But this was. Go, Mike.
I'm just saying, no. Ray Lewis is just is basically an attention whore who's only ever been in it for himself, and so this does not surprise me.
Well, but this game though.
But his antlers are magnificent. I will say that.
This game in particular, though, this is a weird, jump or stay sort of situation, because the Ravens had impressed me through 2 weeks. They'd done much better than I anticipated them to, and maybe I was wrong in the preseason preview, and they were going to be pretty good. Jacksonville, on the other hand, they had that amazing start against. They had 10 sacks against the Texans, and then they
Saxonville.
Right, Saxonville, and that all went away in a week when they lose pretty bad to the Tennessee Titans. So it says, all right, maybe the Jaguars are back to being who they are. But then they blow out the Ravens in London, 44-7. Blake Bortles, 4 touchdown passes. What do you think of the Jags?
Okay, here's where I'm at on this game, all right? I'm staying on the Ravens because I still think they're a pretty good team. Good enough to win a wild card playoff spot. They were in London. The Jags, believe it or not, if I heard this right, are 3-0 over there in their last 3 games that they've played.
Keep them there. Keep them there. Keep them there. Somebody's got to go, right?
But I don't remember were we on the Jaguars, or were we kind of like, we don't know for sure. I don't remember.
You were on them.
I'm staying on them. I think that, again, now I'm not putting them in the Super Bowl. I don't think I was on them. I think I was like, they'd be improved. But I'm staying with the Jags. I think they're going to be, as long as the defense plays up to its capabilities, they're going to be tough. I still think they can get 7-8 wins this season.
Look, of all the weeks for you to pick to stay or leave, I think this is a weird one because there were so many weird results, at least in the early games especially.
Right.
I'll stay on the Ravens for now, but the Jaguars, I got to think this is just a blip on the radar.
We'll see.
But, I mean, I don't know. They've done it twice.
Dude, I don't know. It's the defense. Blake Bortles, I mean, you can't look. He's never. That might be the best game he ever plays in his whole career. Simple as that. But they only got to win 20-17. They don't have to go out and score 44 points.
Yeah.
I'm staying on both these teams with this one.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was never on either of them, so whatever.
So you're not.
Bad team.
Okay.
Bills Broncos. The Bills win this one in Buffalo by 10 points, 26-16. Again, another one where it's like the Broncos looked like world beaters against the Cowboys last week, and the Bills had looked like kind of garbage for the most part through 2 weeks. And that Panthers game last week was just one of the worst things that's ever been put on a football field. But I don't know how to feel about this one either. I'm still on the Broncos. I think they're fine. The Bills, though, I think this is, again, a blip on the radar. That's not something that lasts.
I'll go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, I think this confirmed everything, all the problems that, we had about the Broncos in the preseason. They looked great in the first. The first game they won because the Chargers chargered, and then the second game, admittedly they looked great against Dallas, but we've seen this with the Broncos a few times over the past couple of years. Even the year they went to the Super Bowl, really, if you look at it, where, you have a strong start, then you kind of just start to fall off. And maybe we've gotten to the point where this former Super Bowl winning team has devolved to the point where now the collapse just starts a bit early. And I'm not saying they're going to go win this from here on out, but look, if you're going to be a serious player in the AFC, you got to be able to beat Buffalo, man.
I wasn't on the Broncos to start the season. I'm staying off the Broncos after this game. I'm maybe could be convinced to jump on with the Bills. I think they might be a little bit better. But you know what? No. I have fallen. How many years have we fallen into this trap, Zach? How many years? 5?
How many years have we been doing this?
Yeah, no. I'm staying off both these teams. Absolutely not. They almost tricked me again. Almost.
The interesting thing with this game, the thing that people were talking about afterwards, late in the game, the Bills got a drive extended that didn't give the Broncos back the ball and the opportunity to potentially go ahead on a unsportsmanlike conduct taunting penalty called against Von Miller. So what happened was, Tyrod Taylor throws a pass, it's incomplete, and he was hit while throwing the ball by Von Miller, so he's on the ground. Miller's standing up. Miller puts out his hand as if he's going to help him up. Then Tyrod Taylor goes to reach his hand, and then Miller does the whole too slow. Puts the hand behind his head. So he's laughing. Then Tyrod Taylor stands up and he points at him, and he's laughing. They're both laughing, having a good time. Oh, it's just a good time on an NFL Sunday. And then the referee throws the flag at Von Miller for, hey, that was a unsportsmanlike conduct.
I thought that was total bullshit too.
And it's like they're both joking.
Yeah,
they both laugh. It was funny. What is wrong?
This is just more absurdity from NFL officials. Like, yeah, these are the people who can't even determine whether or not a foot, what a catch is. So, come on.
Well, that's another thing, and I don't want to go back to the whole political thing again, but that's another thing that got slid under the rug was a lot of bad officiating this weekend that I saw, anyway.
Yeah.
But, that was a bullshit call. I'm sorry, but that,
absolutely.
Come on, man. Like you said, they were just having a good time, and I mean, I know that people joke about the no fun league, but boy, that was a prime example of it right there. Okay, so none of us are getting on either of these teams, and we're staying away from both of them. Are you still on the Broncos a little bit?
I'm on the Broncos because I still think their defense can play at an elite level, and Trevor Siemian has been decent.
Yeah, I'm staying away from both these guys. If the Bills can win 5 more games in a row, I'll get on, but until then, forget it.
Next one, Steelers-Bears. The Bears pull out their first win of the season in overtime, 23-17.
The Steelers team, we talked about it. The window is starting to close.
I was on these guys big, picked them to win the AFC, and now I got to decide, am I staying or am I bailing?
This one's hard because, the Bears, the thing that people are talking about after this one, of course, right before halftime, the Steelers are kicking a field goal. It gets blocked. Bear picks it up, runs all the way back. I think his name was Marcus Cooper. Run it all the way back, and he thinks he's going to be the real cool guy that he ran the whole way, and then he's going to basically walk the last 5 yards and stop the instant he gets into the end zone because that's a cool thing to do. Except for the fact that he was caught from behind by one of the Steelers linemen, fumbled the ball at the 1. It went into the end zone. Everybody's diving after it. The Steelers kicker comes in and swats at it, knocking it out of the back of the end zone.
That's happened before a few times.
Yeah. So the Bears could have got a touchdown, and they ended up having to settle for a field goal as the half expired. So they could have been up bigger and maybe win this game in regulation and a little bit more convincingly. So basically what I'm trying to say is the Bears were much better than a simple overtime victory here. And the Steelers were maybe a little bit worse in that regard as well.
Well, not only that, but the Bears did this with a very, I think pedestrian is being too kind performance from Mike Glennon.
Yeah.
Mike Glennon, though, the immortal Mike Glennon, earning that $15 million a year.
What do you have, 105 yards passing or something?
Something like that. It was they were carried by Jordan Howard on the ground.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, and the Bears, and really, I don't know if you're watching this, but the Bears, they weren't. It was not like they were playing their best football to beat these guys, or that it was a real struggle for them. They just played a basic Bears football game and won.
This is actually has got to be one of the worst passing performances I've seen from a winning quarterback for Mike Glennon. 15 of 22, 101 yards, 4.6 average, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, QB rating 19.6.
Ooh.
Well, they got the W. That's all that matters.
So none of us were on the Bears. So anybody want to jump on the Bears at this point? They're what, 1 and 2? No.
1 and 2. No.
Okay. Now what about the Steelers? Are we bailing or are we staying?
I'm not going to bail on them because I said in the preseason preview that this is a team that I think is definitely on the downward trajectory, and they're going to be in trouble sooner rather than later. But at the same time, their division is just so sucky for that for a better term.
I can't bail on them yet either because of that reason.
Who else is there? Like the Browns, maybe in 3 years, but currently no one.
They're the best team in the NFC North right now, and
I'm staying on them, but my confidence was shaken pretty good on Sunday. But I'm not going anywhere yet, Steelers. But we can't have too many more performances like that. I'm going to be bailing.
Falcons and Lions, and oh man, the poor Lions.
Oh boy. Well,
this team just gets dicked around.
The Falcons win this one 30-26 with a little help from the rule book at the end of things.
I have never seen a team so screwed than the Detroit Lions when it comes to this kind of stuff.
This one was pretty bad. So the Lions score, or it appears that the Lions have scored with 8 seconds left. A touchdown pass to Golden Tate. They call it a touchdown on the field. So the clock stops at 8 seconds. Because, the referee,
we got to review it. It's a scoring play. Got to review it. Yeah.
So they go review it. And they determined that the instant that he caught the ball, his knee was on the ground, and he was being touched by a Falcon, and the ball was at like the half-yard line. So they determined, okay, they overturned the call. So you think, okay, they overturned the call, the Lions will get the clock, or they'll get the ball at the half-yard line with 8 seconds left, and they'll start running the clock. Well, the problem is the Lions have no timeouts. And when there's a review under 2 minutes, and the other team that was being reviewed for has no timeouts on the clock, there's a 10-second runoff. So with only 8 seconds left, that meant that the Lions lost those last 8 seconds and the game was over.
Yeah,
that rule makes sense when you're a team that's calling for a review, but you can't call for a review in the last 2 minutes anyway.
Yeah.
And so basically it was the referees determined, the referees called it a touchdown, so they blew the clock. If the referees had said, hey, no, he's down right here, the Lions are running towards the line, and I mean, it'd be fourth down, so they couldn't spike it. They'd have to do.
This is a case. It would be
highly probable that they'd get to the line and run a play in 8 seconds, like knowing that, but it's hard to know because they weren't given the opportunity.
I can see it from both sides. I mean, when I first saw it, I'm like, oh my God, they just got screwed. But then when it was explained, I thought, well, okay, that makes good sense. Would they have been able to, had he been called down, come up from that play, line up and get a play run in 8 seconds? It would have been really, really tough.
Yeah, it'd be hard. But I've seen plays running shorter.
Yeah, I have too. I don't like that rule, but I understand it. I mean, I get why you've got to kind of do it because if not, you're giving them a free play basically, and that's not fair to the Falcons.
If I could just call out Falcons fan Headley Lamar. Fuck you with when does the Super Bowl hangover start? Your team won this game because of a bullshit call, and you know it.
Yeah, and
they scraped by the Bears in week 1, and the Falcons are still fine, and I'm still on the Falcons, but they're not blowing anybody away quite yet like they were last year. They've got time to fix that, but they're 3-0, good for them, but they're not.
I'm staying on both these teams. I don't remember. I think with the Lions, it was. I don't remember where I was at with them. I know it wasn't like the division winner or anything. I'm more on the Lions than I was before this week. Right now, I look at them and I think they've got a real legitimate shot at winning this division because
Matthew Stafford has really kind of he's like the highest paid quarterback in the league right now, but he's kind of proving his worth.
And the Falcons, I'm staying on them too, but it's getting shaky because they've won but.
I'm staying on the Falcons kind of like the same reason I'm staying on the Steelers. Like, who else is there? Because this week did not exactly, show a lot of confidence for the NFC South. That's just all I'll say.
Yeah. So I think we're all three staying on these teams, but it's not. I'm more on the Lions than I was last week. I like this team a little bit better.
I agree. I like how they competed with the Falcons, and man, this was a game that they all thought they won, and some.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the play, and it's like, it seemed like the ball crossed the plane before. I mean, the knee was down, which there's no question the knee was down before the ball crossed. But it seemed like the ball got crossed. The ball crossed before he got touched, is what I thought.
I looked at it a few times. Supposedly, his hand was on. The Falcons' hand was on him when his knee was on the ground, and the instant he caught the ball, the guy's hand was on him. So it's like, it's hard to really say.
Yeah. I'm staying on both these teams. Like the Lions a little bit better than I did last week.
Yeah.
Okay.
The next is a game where I think, no matter what the result was going to be, we're still off both these teams.
Yes.
The Browns lose the Colts 31-28. Jacoby Brissett throws his first ever NHL touchdown pass. How about that?
Yeah. Jacariah Biscuit. Look at him go.
Good for him. 31-28. The Browns they did fine, but if you wanted more encouragement for the Browns, I think this is a game that they probably should have won. If you're somebody that's like, oh, they're building, they're trying to.
You know what though? I mean, look, I'm not going to kid anybody and think that Jack O'Lantern Biscuit here can lead the Colts to the playoffs or anything. But as long as it's him and not Scott Thorazine, they're going to be better. I mean, good, probably not, but certainly capable of beating the Browns. I think so. I don't think that having Brissett as your quarterback's the worst thing.
Hey, Brissett had a better QB rating than Glennon.
Well, he hasn't rushed for 2 touchdowns, but that's what I mean. He just gives them an element that Scott Thorazine does not. And again, I look at the coaching staff and I go, how could you think that Scott Thorazine is a better quarterback than this guy? And we'll get to that here when we get to Houston in a little bit, but I'm still off both these teams. I don't know that the Browns have shown me that improvement that I wanted to see this year. They look an awful lot like they did last year, which...
Yeah. Well, again, it's the Colts. This is a hard game to read because it's 2 not great teams, and those are kind of hard to gauge because if you have 2 teams that are kind of bad, then for all intents and purposes, it's an evenly matched game, and you can't really take anything from this game and say, oh, this will play out this way against a team that's not completely awful because, again, this was sort of like the anti-Super Bowl, against in a complete vacuum, these 2 teams can put together a great football game against each other because they're both bad.
Okay, let me ask you guys this. Between these 2 teams, at the end of the season, who has more wins, Colts or the Browns? Assuming that Jacoby Brissett stays at quarterback or whatever his name is.
I would still say Colts.
I'm going to go Colts, too. I think that Brissett just gives them just enough of an element to make them not 1-15 bad. I think they go from 1-15 bad to like 4-12, 5-11 bad with him.
Yeah.
He isn't just enough. All right, what's next?
Next is another one of the strange results of the day. The Vikings take out the Buccaneers at home. The Vikings were at home 34-17. Case Keenum, 369, 3 TDs.
And what does that say
against the Buccaneers team? That I mean, last week the Buccaneers only beat the Bears, and maybe we thought more of them than we should have after a win over the Bears. But still, going into the season, there was a lot of pressure on the Buccaneers, and to lose to Case Keenum is not good. Not in that sort of fashion. Not good, and let me tell you, a lot of overreaction here in the Tampa Bay area. A lot of should have taken Mariota sentiment going around, which seems shocking considering that I think up until this point, all in all, I think Winston's probably had the better career. Well, it's been what, a year, 2 years?
Yeah, 2 years. I would put them. I mean, looking at it from a completely unbiased perspective, I think they've been relatively equal. I mean,
in the NFL, they've been pretty equal. In college, had Mariota ended up winning that national championship game that he was in,
too bad for him, huh?
Pretty similar accolades in that respect.
Oh, yeah, well, the Ohio State had something to say about that.
That's right.
Yeah, I know. But
hey, you know what? I don't know if there was anybody in the country more surprised than I was at the way that the Buckeyes whipped Oregon's ass that night. I didn't see that coming at all.
No, well, that was just karma for them wearing their stupid Raiders jerseys.
Uniforms, yeah. So I wasn't big on the Vikings. I might be starting to come around to the Vikings after this game. I'm staying with the Bucks for another week or two anyway. But yeah. I don't know. Is this Vikings team, are they good? I mean, they've won. They're 2-1. They've done it really without a quarterback.
Well, either way, they won the first game with Sam Bradford.
Like I said, they've done it without a quarterback. Yeah,
right. They two middling at best quarterbacks.
They, to me, I think are. I don't know. This team, part of me wants to say that it's not so much the Vikings as much as it is maybe the Bucks just weren't as good as we all thought they were.
I'm going to stay with the Bucks another week. I think they're going to be a good team.
I'll stay with the Bucks, and I don't think I was ever really on the Vikings especially once they lost Sam Bradford.
Yeah.
I've seen Case Keenum. I know, but Case Keenum is. Thank you very much.
And Casey Keenum won a few games for the Rams last season before.
Well, I'm wondering though, okay, how much of that was the Jeff Fisher effect? Because he didn't look like the dude who played for the Rams in this game. He looked pretty good. No, I'm not. I'm not going to get carried away or anything, but He wasn't.
It wasn't just he hadn't just played for the Rams. He also had his time with Houston.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he sucked forever. What am I talking about?
Like earlier, blind squirrel and acorn.
I'm not jumping on the Vikings just yet. I don't know how. Honestly, I look at it. I'm like, how did you do this? Maybe I'm staying with the Buccaneers, though. I think they're going to be a good team, and this is just the second week of the season for them, and
Next one here, Texans at the Patriots, and for a while the Texans were not only just keeping with the Patriots, but they were ahead. They were beating them.
They had this game won.
Playing a great game.
They had this game won. They dropped that interception, and that was it. You knew that
they had this. Yeah,
that popped the balloon.
If you ask the Falcons, if you have Tom Brady on the ropes, you can't let it. If you have Tom Brady on the ropes, you can't let him get a second wind. You know what though? This is the first. They gave him a second chance.
The first time in a long time though, watching the Patriots where Brady had the ball with time left, and I thought I didn't think he wouldn't do it, but I'm not 100% sure he's going to do this.
But he did.
I was only about 80% sure. So that's kind of a dent in the armor, right?
Once they started moving, though, it was just oh no, there you go. And then of course he makes an incredible throw. Brandon Cooks makes an incredible catch there on the sideline.
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks are real coming out party for the Patriots today. 5 receptions, 131, 2 TDs. Here's the thing too. The Texans, I will say, the Texans' offense looked much better, and that's going to be promising for Deshaun Watson and them.
That's what I'm saying. But
the Texans can put up 33 points.
Yeah.
And the strength of the Texans is supposed to be the defense, and especially that D line.
Yeah, but you're playing the Patriots in New England. I mean, I'm going to give them a break on that.
Yeah, but you got to again. The defense had a shot to get that interception, but that if you're a defense, you got to. For the Texans to be successful, you can't let anybody score over 35 points.
Especially Tom Brady. You can't like I said, you can't let him off the ground. If you've got your foot to his throat, you've got to finish it. You can't let him get up.
And they had an interception that, obviously if they make the play, they win the game. Mm-hmm. And I think that once that happened, once they dropped that interception, it was kind of like the air was let out of the balloon, and then you just knew that Brady was because that's just he's just that fucking good. That you get your chance, and if you blow your chance to step on his throat, you know you're done. And that's exactly what happened to them. I just want to go back to week 1. And where would the Texans be had they started Deshaun Watson from the beginning instead of that idiot Tom Savage?
Well, would they have been able to stand up to Saxonville in week 1?
I don't know, but I mean, it couldn't have been any worse, right?
I guess.
But my point is that how can you look at those two players and go, yeah, Savage is the better choice? Watson looked pretty damn good.
Well, what's baffling to me is that apparently Watson was always the choice. Like, best case scenario, we're going to start Savage for 6 games.
Why? You go 0-6 and they go, hey, now maybe we can run 10 straight? I mean, I don't even get that logic.
If the thinking is, Watson is the end game, then just put him out there at week 1 and see what he can do.
Right. I agree.
No, 100%. That was a dumb decision.
I'm on the Texans a little bit.
These young quarterbacks come in the league and they do just fine now. If you think that he's good enough, if it's let's just say this, if it's an even race between the new kid on the block, your new draft pick quarterback, and the guy that you brought in to fill the role for the time being, just start the kid.
Yeah.
There's no reason not to.
Yeah, I mean, going back to did we already talk about the Bears? Yeah, I mean, going back to the Bears, how long do they go with Glennon? Well, you have to because of the money. And from what I understand, Mitch Trubisky doesn't seem to be acting like he wants to play anyway. So fine, dude, sit on the bench.
Yeah.
Well, that's just stupid because only the Bears would pay $15 million to Mike Glennon anyway. So
and then trade their entire draft to get Mitch Trubisky. So I'm a little bit on the Texans and just a tad off the Patriots. The Patriots they've won, but I haven't been terribly impressed. I mean, there's some definite chinks in the armor this year. I think they can be had.
I don't care. Until the Patriots are done, they're not done.
Yeah, but there's always that too. I can't argue.
I'm not going to get off them quite yet. If they had lost, then maybe I'd be like,
I'm not off them. I'm not quite as confident. I'm going from 85% down to 74.
The fact they did what they did and pulled out the win again, it's so typical Patriots, and that's never going to go away. So
I get. You know what? The Patriots are just one of those teams. They're like Alabama, where they have, you know what? I'm going to be on them until they prove otherwise. And it's as simple as that. And it's the Texans. Probably should have blown them out. But at the same time, it was a very close game, a game they probably could have lost. And the thing that defines good teams is that they managed to win games they probably should lose. And that's what they did. They did what they had to do. So
I'm just playing the role of the typical idiot on the show. That's the guy that's always like trying to predict the Patriots' downfall before it actually happens.
Before Tom Brady wins his sixth Super Bowl or something.
7th or 8th, yeah.
Yeah, we've all done it. Don't worry, you're not alone.
I'm gonna keep banging that drum every year, man. I'll be one of these times.
My team was 14-2, best team in football, and then they lost to the Patriots in the first round of the playoffs. So
that's because you had Marty Schottenheimer as your coach.
No, it's because we had a kicker who couldn't make a field goal in the postseason.
Yeah, but he should have never been in that position because Marty coaches so damn conservatively. It should have never had to come down to a field goal. All right, anyway. So what are we up to next here, Zach, on the big scoreboard of Are We Bailing or Staying?
Probably the most unanticipated results.
Oh, yeah.
Of the day, of the season. I don't think anybody else saw that this would happen at all. The Jets 20 and the Dolphins 6. Dolphins get a couple field goals late in the game, but they were garbage in this game, and they lost. How do you lose to the Jets?
I don't know, but and it was the Jets dominated this game.
Out by the Jets.
Yeah, Jets kicked their asses. No question about it. I watched part of this. The Jets just whipped their ass. Simple as that.
I am so disappointed in this game. The Jets were looking like we could have seen one of the historically bad NFL teams, and I'm disappointed.
Oh, and Zeppo McCown? I mean, come on.
And it's not even like, this isn't a team that, they're like 0-13 and they happen to win a game late. And no, they got it out of the way early. Now the 0-16 dream is dead for them.
Yep, that's it.
Not even close. Nope.
Gone. Yep.
No, and like we were saying, the 49ers might be the best shot at that, but I think the 49ers will half-ass their way into a win at some point.
Yep. Oh yeah, I think a Brian Hoyer is always good for 2 wins a year. He'll beat 2 teams somehow, some way.
I mean,
I think we're right again, and I hate to say it. I think our best chance for 0-16 is still the Cleveland Browns.
Look, okay, the Niners still have to play the Cardinals twice. They play the Colts. They play the Bears.
Yeah, they could.
The Jaguars.
They could bumble their way to a win against one of those teams.
Yeah, I think the Browns, for about 2 weeks there, the Browns had actually moved past the Jets. And not anymore. Nope. Now the Browns are going through the Jets at 1-2, and we're back right where we were.
Yeah. Well, and like the one of the games the Browns could have won was against the Colts, and they didn't.
Yep.
They play the Jets in 2 weeks. They play the Bengals this weekend. They play the Jaguars later. They also play the Bears at some point too. We're not going to have an 0-16 team. I
think you're right.
The Browns will win one of those games. The Niners will win one of theirs.
You know what? The goddamn Chargers. If the Chargers had just beaten the Browns last season, then we would have had the 0-16 Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
But of course, the Chargers had to.
And of course, it had to be the Chargers, right?
Yeah.
It had to be the Chargers. Anyway, I was on the Dolphins.
Off. You can't lose to the Jets. I'm off. Like
I'm not off yet. Maybe next week, but right now I'm staying with them. I think this was just every year you get a game where you just go, "What the hell just happened there?" And this was that game for the Dolphins. That's what I'm just going to write it up to that. Never was on the Jets, and I'm not planning on getting on the Jets.
Yeah, I'm certain. I may be off the Dolphins, but I'm certainly not on the Jets. This is still a garbage team.
Well, okay.
No, 100%. Next one, another one of the crazy finishes there in the morning. The Giants and the Eagles. The Giants scored 24 points in the fourth quarter to tie this thing up late. But the Eagles get just enough time. They line up for a 61-yard field goal. A rookie that was signed off the practice squad comes in and just gets it inside the post for the buzzer-beating 61-yard game winner. Eagles win 27-24. Giants fall to 0-3. And the Eagles have flying Eagles fly to the 2-1 record.
I am bailing on the New York Football Giants. I am out. Good night.
This is not a good team.
They are terrible. Simple as that.
Yeah. No, and you were high on the Giants. You had them as a division winner, I think, right? Or did you go back to the Eagles? I forget. I think you were.
I had the Giants. Yeah, Giants. I like them to win the division.
Yeah, man. I mean, Eli eventually put up stats to 366 and 3 TDs.
Yeah.
Odell Beckham had a good, got 2 touchdowns. Sterling Shepard had a game for them too. They got all those points, but it was just so late in the game that
garbage time didn't matter.
Well, they ended up tying it, and it looked like this thing was just going to go to OT, and maybe they could have pulled it out. But if you lose 3 games and you've lost them the way that they have too, it just you're.
They're just not. They're not good.
0-3 teams just don't make the playoffs. The last time it happened was 1998, I think they said, and with the Bills. And even then, it's like they make it and they lose. So this season's done for them.
Yeah, and they're not good to begin with. I mean, the thing that we all thought was going to be their calling card this season was their defense, and it hasn't looked great.
No.
The offense, that was the first time the offense has scored 20 points since I don't remember when.
Yeah, that offense is just stagnant.
It's stagnant. It's just bad. And
they can't run. They can't throw.
The only interesting thing I saw out of this Giants team yesterday was Odell Beckham Jr.'s celebration after the touchdown. That's it.
Yeah, the first one where he got on all fours and peed like a dog, and then the second one he found a better idea and raised his fist in defiance, I guess.
Yeah, I know the peeing like a dog thing. It's like, dude, I think that might be funny, but it's also, I don't know.
He got a flag for that one, so that was good.
But yeah, I'm off. Boy, I'm bailing on the Giants, but you know what? I'm jumping on the Eagles. I said I should have done it 2 weeks ago. I am on this team now. I think they're actually good.
Well, yeah, I still need to see more, because as much as I like the Eagles getting the win here and all that, I didn't think that they were too impressive in the game, and we think the Giants are bad, so they have to beat them on a last-second field goal. They hung with the Chiefs last week, but they ended up losing.
Right.
And they pulled away late against the Redskins. I still need to. I'm staying with the Eagles, but I'm not fully on them yet. I need to see a little bit more.
But don't you think, though, with this division, the way it's starting to shape up right now, that the Eagles are in better shape than we thought they were at the start of the season?
Oh, yeah. I think they're in better shape than they were. It's them or the Cowboys, clearly. Oh, well, I guess the Redskins, too. The Redskins have actually been pretty good at least the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's a much tighter division than we anticipated. But, yeah, the Giants are dead, and the Eagles.
It's just not going to be the Giants.
Yeah.
No, I am bailing. I am way off the Giants. Forget it. I was watching them last night, just going, these guys, or yesterday, going, they're terrible. They're just not a good team.
Mm-hmm.
Good looking uniform matchup, though. That's about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still don't like the Eagles look.
Every year when I do my best and worst list, I call the team that improves through attrition. Like somebody gets in a uniform that's bad and it moves them up a shot. I think the Eagles are that team this year. Like they've moved up because somebody below them got worse, you know?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Anyway, all right, what's next, Zach?
Next is Saints-Panthers. The Saints win in Carolina 34-13. The Panthers are 2-1, but those 2 wins are some of the 2 of the worst wins you've ever seen in your life.
That Buffalo game was...
They might as well be 0-3, because if they were playing anybody else, they would have lost.
Yep.
So I am officially off the Panthers.
I am right behind you. I am bailing on the Panthers myself. I'm out of here.
I had hopes for them. I thought they would bounce back and get back to the form of 2 years ago, but not even close. I don't know what the hell happened to that team.
At the beginning of this season, I said it was possible, and I not only said it was possible, I called that 3 teams from the NFC South were going to make the playoffs, and I don't think that in retrospect was probably premature, because you asked what happened, Zach. I think I know. I think when Cam Newton, and I like Cam Newton as a player, War Eagle, but if he was but I think his pity me party after they lost to Denver in that Super Bowl kind of maybe soured a lot of people. Like it wasn't as epic a collapse as, say, Russell Wilson throwing a pick on the 1-yard line or the Falcons blowing that lead. But I think it was a case where it's going to be hard for a lot of players on that team to get over the fact that he kind of acted like a whiny bitch after losing one game.
Right. Well, and you know, it's funny you bring that up, because now once I think about it, going back to that Super Bowl, and that's when it's gone off, maybe it's like we said with the Seahawks and other teams like them. Like, it wasn't a huge collapse, but that's maybe a team that's just not going to get there again.
Yeah.
They had their shot, and Cam Newton is just not going to recover from that season.
At least not in the Panthers. Like maybe a change of scenery will do him some good, but
this team
as it's constructed, yeah.
If this team were going to have improved like we thought they might this year, they would have shown it by now, and they have not.
Mm-hmm.
Like Zach said, even in the games they won, if they were playing good teams, they lose those games. I mean, that Buffalo game was
a good team.
Yeah,
if they were playing anybody other than the team they played that week.
Yeah, that Buffalo game was just some of the worst football I've ever seen. But if this team had talent and had put it back together, I think we would have seen signs of it. And I've seen nothing to make me think they've done that so far. I'm off the Panthers completely, bailing on them entirely. And I'm not sold on the Saints yet either. I'm not there either.
No, I'm not on the Saints either.
These are two bad teams.
Yeah, they can still. They're going to score points every week, and good for them. Drew Brees is always going to be good for that, but not for too much else.
No,
there's still not too many games. Next one, Titans and the Seahawks. Titans win this one 33-20.
Look at my irrational confidence Titans.
Yeah, I'm on the Titans, man. I like this team. They played well in almost every game. You know, the one game they lost was to the Raiders in week 1, but they still looked good in that game. You know, if they were playing anybody other than the Raiders, maybe they win that week. But I'm on the Titans. I like what I see.
We got, you know me, I've been on them for 5 years now. But
yes, you were on them back when they had Jake Locker. That's how far.
Yeah, I mean that's how dumb I've been about this team. Yeah,
back.
that shows you how stupid I am with these teams when I get my irrational confidence going. I'm off the Seahawks entirely.
Yeah,
I don't see
this. When I see stuff like this, this makes me. This is why I picked the Rams to win the AFC. The NFC West, because look, we've seen it before, and I've listened to every episode of basically a football show, so I know where you guys were coming from. Where every week,
so you're a smart football fan.
Oh yeah, educate. I only listen to the best. But I remember listening to you guys. You'd say every week, like, "Oh, if the Seahawks lost, well, I still don't feel like we can count them out." And you were mostly right, because they'd always find a way to scrape together enough wins to get into the playoffs at least. But I think we've seen, in retrospect, since that Super Bowl loss to the Patriots, where each week, not each week, but each season, it becomes less and less of a sure thing. And they've still managed to put it all together, but I think this might be the year where it all falls apart. And going back to the argument that we've talked about, Greg, you before the season, you sent me a story about how some players in that locker room still can't forgive Russell Wilson for that pick that cost them the Super Bowl against the Patriots.
Yeah, and that shit's been, 2 years ago now?
3 years.
3 years, yeah.
3, yeah. But, Keith Olbermann was right. This stuff festers, and they were a talented team. I mean, they were a Super Bowl contending team, so they weren't going to fall apart overnight, but they have kind of degenerated slowly season by season, and this might be where it all kind of collapses, because what's their record this season? Are they they're 1-2.
1-2.
And that one win that they had, I don't remember it being particularly.
It was last week against the 49ers, and they didn't get a touchdown until the fourth quarter. And they missed the extra point and still only won by 3.
My thing with these guys is the defense still is pretty solid, but their offensive line is terrible.
Yeah,
it's just terrible. I mean, when you've got that weak ass Packers pass rush knocking Russell Wilson all over the park, that's not a good sign. And that's where their problem lies. They don't have enough offense. I mean, they've got Russell Wilson, who, as much as I despise the guy, is a pretty decent quarterback. But then what else? I mean, I don't know who the running back is this year. But it's like you said, Mike, they're coming down the other side of the hill, and it's been a slow kind of, slide, but a little more each year. And I think we're really seeing it this year. I'm off the Seahawks. I don't know who's going to win that division. They still might, but it's not going to be very impressive if they do. Like if they do, it's going to be a 9-7, 8-8 type thing. They're not going to go 12-4.
I don't know. I don't know. It's still possible, but I'm going all in on the Rams. I think the Rams end up winning this thing by like a game. But
Yeah, it could be.
I take it, but I'm not ready to go that far with them yet. I still try to be cautious optimism there.
You're 7-9 NFC West champion Los Angeles Rams.
Oh, if we're gonna go that route, let's make it happen. Let's do 6-10.
6-10 LA Rams.
I'm buying a Jared Goff throwback jersey if that happens, man. Aaron Donald. I'm buying an Aaron Donald throwback jersey.
Hey, I'll buy an NFC West divisional championship hat if they go 6-10 and win it.
Me too. Me too.
Look,
and I will root for them the rest of the way throughout the season.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it, but I'm not ready to just dethrone the Seahawks quite yet. I still think the Seahawks will end up winning this division. But if things don't turn around, they could very easily lose it. It's not a stranglehold that they once have. It's very, very, very tenuous.
Well, if we were wrong about the Cardinals, and I don't think we were, but if we were wrong about the Cardinals and our listener Joe is right about the Cardinals, they could step in and do this. I don't think that's what's going to happen. If I had to make a pick right now, I'm going with Mike and saying, okay, probably the Rams. And again, I'm not looking at any of these. I'm not looking at any of these teams coming out with like a 10 or 12 win season. You're looking at 8-8, 9-7, probably wins this division. I'd still have to go with the Rams because I like the Cardinals. I would love for them to do well, but I just don't see it. I do not see what Joe sees in that team right now. And I know he's been riding us on Twitter about it. I love the fact that he's that engaged, but we all disagree with you, Joe. Sorry. But anyway, I'm off the Seahawks.
And again, I'm a Cardinals fan. I want them to do well, but I just don't see it. And I just see them repeating the same mistake of Carson Palmer that they did with Kurt Warner, where you have sort of a veteran QB who still has a few more years left, and they just go all in and refuse to build.
I would even feel
for the future.
better about the Cardinals if they had a decent backup to Carson Palmer. But they don't, that I can think of. I mean, maybe they've gotten somebody since, but I don't even know who it is. It's still Drew Stanton?
Drew Stanton.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, because it isn't a question. I don't think we even question whether Palmer was capable or not. It's, can you keep him on the field for 16 games? That's the trick. Yeah. First off, because he gets hurt a lot. Anyway, so I'm way on the Titans, and I'm way off the Seahawks right now on this one.
Agree. Speaking of teams, that you mentioned their sorry ass pass rush, Greg. Your Green Bay Packers.
Oh God!
They pull this one out in overtime over the bad Bengals. 27-24. Aaron Rodgers the lead. A late touchdown drive to tie it, and then they win on a field goal in OT. What do you think of your property there, Greg?
I'm going to tell you what you saw. If any of you watched this game on Sunday, what you saw were the two worst coaches in the National Football League.
Out coaching each other. So basically, it was a chess match as conducted by 5-year-olds.
Right. I mean, there probably are worse but okay, worst coaches in the NFL for the talent level that they have on their teams. The two worst, and Marvin Lewis and Mike McCarthy. I'm surprised that anybody was able to manage to win this game, but. The Packers are, we're talking like bailing or staying. I'm bailing on the Packers. I don't think they're good.
Really?
Yeah. Look at them. They were down.
The only thing that gives me hesitation about bailing on the Packers is that the Lions have been pretty impressive. I think that they can certainly win this division, but there have been years in the past where the Packers have looked pretty bad, and they've still won it because the Lions blew a surefire, divisional lead with like 3 weeks left in the season. So,
yeah,
that's the only thing that gives me. I don't feel confident. I actually watched this game, and I was blown away by just how bad the Packers were because they barely beat a really bad Cincy team.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like part of me is saying I can't feel confident betting on the Lions to take advantage of the opportunity presented.
See, but my thing with the Packers,
I can't bet on the Lions. I can't bet on the quarterbacks of the Minnesota Vikings, and it's not going to be the Bears.
You're not going to bet on Mike Glennon?
This is kind of like a Seattle situation in the NFC West again. It's just a matter of the Packers are probably still going to contend, and I mean I'm not off them like I'm not a fan anymore or anything. I just say, and they may still win the division, but I don't see much more than that happening.
Yeah,
I think I had them going to the Super Bowl this year, and that's just not going to happen.
Not just you, but there were a lot of people that had the Packers going to the Super Bowl, and based on what I saw on Sunday, no. If that Packers team goes up, no way.
But tell me this, though. I mean, how does this Packers team look different than the team did, say, in 2013? They don't. It's the exact same team, and I don't care. Aaron Rodgers.
They were 3 years younger in 2013.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. And they're so predictable. And tell me, and maybe I'm just overanalyzing it or something, but that offense sure as hell looks a lot to me like put Aaron in the shotgun, snap it to him, and let's make something happen. That is their offense to me. Which, when he's on, sure it works, and you're going to make some great plays, but sometimes it doesn't work so well, like in Atlanta. But that seems to be, it doesn't seem to be, there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just like snap the ball in a 4-receiver set. Once in a while, we're in Montgomery to try to throw things off a little bit, but for the most part, get open, I'll hit you. I mean, that's what it looks like to me, and you're not going to win a Super Bowl like that.
No, totally.
Yeah.
That's probably,
and the Bengals,
that's probably what the plays are drawn up. They just draw them up in sand before every game. Aaron Rodgers put the diagram on his hand.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody go long.
Yeah, and the Bengals are just awful. Marvin, if he survives this year, I don't know what to say.
There's no. I think he will, because it's the land of no consequences. So, look, if they didn't fire him 2 seasons ago after that dismal playoff performance against Houston in the playoffs, he's pretty much. I've got to think he's got the job for life.
Yeah.
He's got something on Mike Brown.
Last one of those afternoon games is the Chiefs taking on the Carson Chargers.
Your fight for L.A. Chargers. Thank you very much.
I'm bailing on your Chargers, Mike. Sorry. I know I predicted them to maybe be a playoff team this year. Ain't going to happen.
Oh, don't worry. I'm bailing on them, too. I'm fine. I'm right there with you.
The Chiefs didn't even have a particularly impressive day.
No.
They had a pretty average day. But Phillip Rivers, 3 interceptions, not going to help you. Kareem Hunt had another great day on the ground for the Chiefs.
Former Toledo Rocket. Just saying.
Congratulations, Dean Spanos. You've wasted the career of one of this generation's better quarterbacks.
Yep.
Good job.
Yeah.
Good job.
There was a great sign at one of the home games. I think it was last week, and it said, "Watching Rivers and Antonio Gates retire in a soccer field." Thanks, Dean.
Yeah,
I'm a Chargers fan.
These guys deserve. I've been watching the Chargers as long as I've been aware of football, and God, Gates and Rivers, they deserve so much more than what they've gotten out of their careers.
Well, you got Gates and Rivers. The one of the things that was very disappointing to me, and I didn't even think about it until their home opener last week. At the halftime of their home opener, LaDainian Tomlinson is giving his Hall of Fame, being honored for being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And yeah, they had the ceremony in Canton and all that, but it's always something when they get the ceremony at the home stadium. And he didn't even get to do it in San Diego.
No,
it was in stadium in South suburban Los Angeles.
And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that
that wasn't even sold out. I guarantee you that if Dean Spanos had said, "City of San Diego, we're going to stay here until we work something out," if the Chargers had committed to San Diego, if LT showed up, in Qualcomm, that place would have been packed, and he would have gotten a standing ovation.
Oh, of course.
I don't think he ever played a professional down of football in Los Angeles, did he?
No.
He retired before.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Raiders were long gone by the time he showed up, and so were the Rams. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
yeah.
But the Chargers are 0-3 now, and well at the bottom of that division. The Chiefs are good, the Raiders are good, and the Broncos are better than everyone thought they might have been this season. So the Chargers, they're out of it. They're not going to be a playoff team.
Nope.
And man, I like
maybe they run off a string and they hang around. They're in the hunt, quote unquote, but they're not in the playoffs. Plain and simple.
That would be so typically Chargers of them too. I like this Chiefs team a lot, man. I tell you what, this Kareem Hunt, I watched him play as a Toledo Rocket. I knew the kid was going to be good, and wow, has he delivered so far? He's this year's Ezekiel Elliott, I think.
Yeah. He's pretty good. Very, very good.
With Tyreek Hill and Alex Smith's playing pretty good ball. I like this Chiefs team a bunch.
Yeah, the funny thing about Kareem Hunt, of course, was that he in college he didn't fumble the ball once. and then the first carry of his NFL career, he fumbles.
Well, get it out of the way. You get it out of the way, see?
But I think he's been pretty good since, and I mean the numbers bear that out. I don't know about his fumble numbers. I assume he hasn't fumbled since, but his rushing yards and his touchdowns are there. He's a dynamic player, and it gives the Chiefs something that they really needed. And you know what? If the Chiefs at some point deem it necessary to switch from Alex Smith to Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs might all of a sudden be an up-tempo, exciting team from out of nowhere, and maybe they might just be something. But
hey, I like him. I like him a lot this year.
Hey, I'm gonna go out and say that, Greg, I think you had the right idea in saying that there was someone who could beat the Patriots, who could dethrone the Patriots. I think you were wrong in picking Pittsburgh, but I think Kansas City. This might be the year where Kansas City finally puts it together.
I think you're right about, and you know what? I'll go a step further with that. If the Chiefs can somehow, because I know that. I sound like I'm just trying to be hot take guy or just be the guy that's, the great prognosticator. I just think the Patriots, with, the age of Tom Brady, if they're going to lose 4, 5, 6 games this year, there's a really good shot for one of these other AFC teams to get home field advantage. And if you can get that in January in Kansas City and get the Patriots out there, it increases your chances of victory, exponentially. And that's what's got to happen here. But I'm with you. I think the Chiefs could be the team to do it. I do. So I agree with you completely on that.
Yeah. So the interesting thing the only interesting thing that happened this weekend for the Chargers to me. So we've had the Chargers fighting for LA. We had the Chargers fighting for Orange County,
Costa Mesa,
and all points in between. But each week, the Chargers and the Rams, they each select a high school coach in Southern California as their coach of the week. So it was just funny to me that this last weekend they happened to pick 2 coaches from the same city here in South Orange County. So they're fighting for LA, Carson, San Diego. They're fighting for Orange County, Costa Mesa. Add the fight for Mission Viejo to the list. So good job, Chargers. Did
the Chargers set off the fireworks after they lost?
No, not this year. But
okay.
Hey, but I was on hand for the Chargers Coach of the Week presentation.
Okay.
And I got to see Chargers third string quarterback Cardale Jones.
And Mike, I told him, I said, you've got to go up and get him to say, we ain't here to play football. We ain't here to play school. We're here to listen to basically a sports show. Wouldn't that have been the greatest liner ever?
Oh yeah, that could be a bumper.
Right? Yeah.
You think if I had asked him to repeat that line, he would be like, he wouldn't punch me in the face?
Well, he might have. It was worth a shot, man. Come on. It was worth a shot. I mean, you never know.
He was there. He's a huge dude.
Yeah.
By the way. Like, it's one of those things where, like, you see him on TV and you watch the games and whatever. When you're standing next to Cardale Jones, it's just like, holy shit, you're big.
He's a big dude.
Yeah.
You know what? He deserves better than what he's walking into anyway. So, yeah, whatever.
All right. So anyway, let's move it along here. We got one game left.
Last one's the Sunday night game. Redskins Raiders. The Redskins win this one convincingly, 27-10.
They look good.
The Raiders just didn't look like they were really there all night, and Kirk Cousins looked as good as Kirk Cousins can look. 365, 3 TDs.
It's that same old siren song with Kirk Cousins again. Here we go.
Hey, This is the year. This is Kirk Cousins' year. All in on Kirk Cousins.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna. You know what? I am jumping on the Washington Redskins, and I'm picking them to win that division this year.
I realized something. I realized just now, if you take like my thoughts on the NFC East going back maybe the last 5 years or so, that the Redskins are my version of the irrational confidence Titans, where I always think they're going to be okay and maybe they'll turn it around. And this year it looks like they might, because they lost their first game, but they've been 2-0 since. And we had a lot of fun pointing out bad QB ratings from Week 1. Derek Carr, not a great game. 19 for 31, 118 yards, an average of 3.8, 1 TD, 2 interceptions, QB rating of 3.5.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm not off the Raiders. I just think that what it looked like was just a weird game. Just a weird bad game for him.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that too. I don't think the Redskins are quite as good as they looked last night. I think they're going to be pretty good though. But again, it's more about the division. I think they're good enough to win 9, maybe 10 games and win the division because that's all it's going to take in the East, I believe, this year.
I'm not off the Raiders either. I definitely think it's going to come down to them or the Chiefs for the AFC West spot, but I do think whoever doesn't get it will get in as a wild card team. So
yeah, but
Greg, well, as the maker of lists, Greg, this was my favorite uniform matchup of the weekend. What did you think?
Well, yeah, because my list will be posted before the show. So yeah, this was my number one game. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I like that a lot. The Raiders road look
really. I think my favorite road look in the NFL is the Raiders. I don't know what it is, but it just looks so good.
It's pretty good.
And then the Redskins. Boy, I've just given up on the
Bears was pretty good too.
Oh, I hate those Bears throwbacks. Just despise them. I don't like them at all.
Had the Bears been wearing the regular jerseys, that's up there.
That's the number one game probably. Well, maybe not.
I will say the 49ers looked like ass.
Yeah.
Absolute ass. But if you pair white pants of that Rams color rush uniform, you've got a pretty unique looking home look.
Yeah, I didn't hate the yellow. I didn't hate the yellow. Well, see, here's the thing. This is only the second time we've seen it. The first time was in the Edward Jones Dome. So, of course, it still looked like garbage. Yeah. But so it looked a lot better in this game. Maybe because the Rams were winning too. That helps. But yeah, if they put white pants, maybe even blue pants, that's a very nice alternate. I'd live with that.
Definitely.
It also proved to me that the Ram, like this pussyfooting around with the white and blue thing, the Rams need to be blue and yellow, and I'm not going to back away from that one.
You know what? I think I've got to agree with that. Because
Greg's finally been broken.
Well, not necessarily broken. I just, for the white and blue to work, it has to be the full white and blue with the gray face mask, and they're not going to do that. And I don't blame them for not doing that. And with the uniform cuts and stuff the way they are today, I think the blue and gold just works better. Yeah. Back in the 60s, early 70s, that white and blue was a great look, but they were wearing completely different uniforms back then.
Royal blue, athletic gold, give it to me. Stop. I know we have to wait, but as soon as I'm going to buy my jersey, it's going to be that throwback.
And an ideal,
the regular jerseys end up being something close to the throwbacks.
In an ideal world, they'll go back to the blue and gold as the primary look. Hopefully, just do the throwbacks because that's what everybody wants. Yeah. And maybe you do the white and blues twice a year as an alternate. I think that's the perfect way to handle it.
Yeah, I guess in this situation, if things are as they are now, then they just keep the yellow as the color rush because that's going to be the extra alternate uniform you get.
Yeah.
But, I don't know.
And they need to get rid of the color rush, and let's just have some fun with it. Bring back throwbacks or something. Find a way to make that work. Anyway, so to wrap it up, I guess I'm way on the Redskins. I'm still with the Raiders, and you guys.
Yeah. The currently Cowboys are leading the Cardinals 14-7. So
talk to us.
I'm off the Cardinals. I'm off the Cardinals. That's not good. The Cowboys.
Well, it was like we were talking before we started recording, and our friend on Twitter was telling us that Carson Palmer was blah, 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 and we were joking, talk to us at the end of the game.
Yeah.
So
the game still has time left, things could change, but the Cardinals haven't done anything since those first two drives.
Well, they lost the best running back in the NFL for most of the season. That's going to hurt no matter what.
And actually, speaking of injuries, the one thing I forgot it when we were at the Eagles game. Poor Darren Sproles. He tore his ACL and broke his arm on the same play.
Oh my God!
And it wasn't some devastating tackle. It was just looked like a pretty legal run of the mill form tackle that somehow he tore his ACL and broke his arm on the same. Oh man,
that sucks.
So he's obviously out for the season, but he's 33 or so, and maybe that's it for Darren Sproles, but who knows?
So there you go. That's are we bailing, staying, or jumping on for this week? I don't know what we'll call next week for the football, but that's all I got for tonight.
Really weird game. Really weird games. Just a lot of weird results.
Very strange results. But I think that I would say the most interesting week of the season so far, though, right?
At least in the NFL. Yeah.
We're going to call it a night. Follow us on Twitter. Argue with us about the Arizona Cardinals or any other NFL team you might like to fight with us about.
No, you know what? Specifically, only come to us with Arizona Cardinals opinions.
Yeah.
I don't.
Cardcast.
You can do that on Twitter at Basically Sports, or you can follow us on Facebook, and you can also subscribe to the show via iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and YouTube.
If you tweet us a Chicago Bears opinion, I will unfollow.
We'll see you next week.
See ya.
Later.